Okay, so we have 3 terms in real estate that you may not know about.
Yeah, 3 terms. So what's a contingency, Michaela?
Oh, okay. So there's a couple different contingencies in a real estate sale. So if we get an offer, there's a couple. So from the very beginning, contingent upon their successful financing, and there's a certain amount of days that you have to have that, and it can be moved around a little bit depending on the buyer. Your second one is inspection. That is a contingency of the sale. So what that means is that you have the opportunity to do an inspection, and let's say the inspection fails in the sense of you don't, let's just say that a lot of things have to be done that you didn't anticipate, but you gave them a good price. And so you're thinking, gosh, I just don't know if I want to give them that same price. So it's your inspection time is a time to renegotiate. But also it is a time for you to get out if you do decide you don't want to move forward without losing your earnest money.
Yeah, if there's structural issues that you're I'm not feeling really comfortable with, or, a deck that looks like it's going to fall off the house and the seller doesn't want to repair it.
Right.
That would be your time to use that contingency to get out.
To use a contingency, yep. Right? So it's contingent upon those 2 items, the lending and also the inspection. Mm-hmm. And then our last one is the appraisal.
Yep.
So we have to make sure that the bank is going to give us the money to purchase. So they have to have an appraiser come in and give value so that they can give you the money to buy this house.
And that's happening more often lately, where houses they're either coming in at or maybe slightly below what it was offered at.
Right.
So that could be another way to negotiate again. So using that contingency to say, hey, it only appraised for $825 instead of $845. What do? Is the seller going to lose the house? Are you willing to come up the $20,000 as a buyer?
And does the seller come down? Or do you meet in the middle? Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of things that you could do there.
Yeah.
So one thing we are seeing a lot too is that the offer is contingent upon the successful close of another property. So your buyer comes and they're living in their house and they have their house, up for sale. And they also are now they need to figure out where they're going. So let's start showing you properties so you can see where where you lie. So you would write an offer contingent upon the successful sale of your property, which is 123 Main. And we have to make sure that home sells in order for you to move on to the next home, right? So we want to make sure that happens so you have the money to do your next step.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other contingencies that we're seeing.
The last 2 that I've done have been contingent sales. I'm in the middle of one right now that, thank the good Lord, is just out of contingency period right now. They've accepted everything, and they're going to close.
They're going to close. They're
going to close in 8 days.
So they have, that's great. So they have, so their contingency is that they have a property in another state. Mm-hmm. So we've been in touch with the other broker and have been talking with them and making sure that transaction is going very smooth. And so your client can move forward to purchasing this.
And that's also something that in that contingency, that because it's also the listing agent. I'm representing the buyer on this one. He's contacting me. Hey, how's the sale going? He's trying to follow my Idaho agent here, and he's following his contractual obligation. It has to be on the market by the X day. It has to be sold by this day. If it doesn't, what does that mean? Are we out of contract? Does my buyer lose his earnest money? So
depends on how the contract's written, right? So typically they would get their earnest money back. Chad's buyer would get it if they didn't sell their house in California, but there can be terms written in the contract that say once they're in escrow, then there would be a release of earnest money to the seller, the Idaho seller.
The contingency period for the house you're purchasing has gone through. You've got 10 days for inspections, and you come back with your negotiations, and then after that, and this case for my buyer was even if his house didn't sell, that seller took the house off the market for 30 days. That after the contingency period goes, that earnest money would revert to the seller, which was agreeable to my seller or my buyer because he knew that his house was going to sell, which it had 18 cash offers within 3 business days.
That's
18 cash offers.
We typically follow other states. So when we hear this type of stuff that happens outside of Idaho, that agents will get multiple offers in the 18 cents, which are 18, 20 offers, whatever it may be. That's what we were seeing in 2020 and 2021. So we always follow the bigger states. So this is why we're telling you now, don't say we didn't tell you.
Great market.
It's a great market, yes.
So another one is escrow. And that's,
What is escrow? What does it mean when people say, congratulations, we're going to open escrow?
Yeah, what does that mean? And that means that both parties, one or the other, will open escrow for the contract, and then the escrow company, they hold your earnest money deposit. They take care of all of the documents. They have to abide by the entire contract, and then once those have all been met, then you're able to go to close. So if you don't have all your documents in, if you don't have your earnest money hasn't been met, or the lender doesn't have all their documents in, that puts a hold on things that happen. And so their job is to basically from A to Z through the contract. And they look at your contract, read it. Is this done? Is this done? Is this done? Is this done? Does this meet the criteria for this closing date? And then once you've met all those obligations, then they'll go through to close. If not, then they will push back and say, this hasn't been met, this hasn't been met. We need to have these before we can complete this contract.
So they'll pull title. So they basically, like, your buyer has found the property they love. They'll pull title to make sure there any of the liens that are on the property. Like if they have a mortgage, you'll see that. If there's any liens or any problems with the property, maybe there's an easement problem. So there might be something like another home encroaching over your land. There's so many things that come in that title report that each buyer has an opportunity to look at. And sometimes, to be honest, a seller doesn't even know what's on their title report. They don't know that there was an easement that was drawn a long time ago, which an easement is something where somebody has access through the property, or it might even be like just a telephone pole and electricity or something like that.
Utilities have easements a lot of times, yes.
Be really, really easy stuff. So it's just for us, basically what we tell our buyers is it's a way to kind of dig deep into the property, and we have time to do that. So that's another contingency of the contract, is that we're able to look at title, look at the CC&Rs, which are the rules and regulations of the property. They do have it. Not all properties have CC&Rs or HOAs, but it's an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good one, and we don't usually talk this way, but we have people within our circle that use this term a lot, and you'll hear it all the time if you are a buyer, and it's PITI.
Pity. Well, I have pity on you. But really all it is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So basically when you're calculating a payment, you'll talk with your mortgage lender about this quite a bit, because that's the end number for the loan. What is your monthly payment going to be? And it's going to be principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Right,
because most people, when they're buying a home, they are looking for, what is their payment going to be? That's the most important thing to them. They're wondering, okay, I know the house is blank, but what is my payment going to be? Yeah. So that is what's included in your PITI. And that's what they're figuring what your payment would be, so that you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people look at houses, like, okay, well, I qualify for $550, right? But what does that payment look like? Is it going to be $3,850 a month? Well, I can't do that. So then that brings them down to, okay, I'm comfortable with $3,500 a month, not $3,850.
Right. So
then you need to readjust and talk to your realtor to say, okay, well, I'm really only comfortable with a $450 house, not a $480 house.
Right.
Although the bank says I can qualify at a $480, I don't want to pay that.
Right.
So my PITI needs to be $3,500 a month.
Right.
Yep.
And we can help you with that too, even in negotiation. So even if you are approved to a number that you're like, ooh, I don't know if I really love that $3,800 payment, Chad and I can help you get into that payment that is more comfortable, and that's with negotiations, and we can show you how to do that.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining our podcast today. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Michaela and I always enjoy doing these, and hopefully a little bit of this comes down to you and your information and your knowledge.
Have a great day. Thank you.